Hello there friends, Landry Rourke here once again with another insightful video giving you some tips on how to make your life a little bit healthier, a little bit more functional. Today's tip is about feedback. How to receive feedback, why to receive feedback. When I say feedback, what I'm talking about is the input from other people around you to help give you a fuller worldview than you can get on your own. This is important because simply by ourselves, we can only come up with a very narrow worldview, right? A very narrow belief structure, as well as a very narrow understanding of how our behavior actually affects the people around us. We will naturally have areas of our life that we just can't see. Just like in the natural, I can only see what's in front of me without reflections or without other people describing what's behind me. My eyes will never see the back of my head, ever. Same is true just in outside of the natural. So we need people to help us understand that how our behavior affects the people around us, how our communication affects the people around us, or even whether our belief structure is a reflection of the truth or whether it's getting a little haywire or kooky, right? So feedback is really important for us to live a life of accuracy and relational health. So there's our little background baseline. I want to give you 3 simple tips that will actually help you be receptive to feedback and really give feedback a place in your life to where it can help shape your behavior and shape your belief structure and really refine those things and keep you in a good and steady place. Rule number 1, let's call these suggestions. Suggestion number 1, decide intentionally that all feedback is valuable. Now this one sounds a little off, but it isn't. Here's why. Your brain will naturally look for evidence that reaffirms what it already believes. So the way your brain works, when somebody gives you feedback that is actually challenging to you, that is suggesting that maybe what you believe isn't right, or that maybe your behavior isn't quite the best, your brain will naturally not want to receive it unless you decide that all feedback is valuable. Unless you go out of your way to choose that all feedback should be examined. All feedback is worth a second look. So you decide all feedback is valuable. This isn't to say that all feedback is truthful or accurate though, which we'll get to in a moment. Suggestion number 2, receive feedback well. If you don't receive the feedback well from people, like if you push back on it, I've had plenty of people in my life that they did this, leaders and things like that, where it's people in positions where they actually need a lot of feedback. They need a really well-rounded view of life and how their interactions affect people. But every time feedback came to them, they'd really push back on it. They really challenge it. And while that may be an okay way to interact in most cases, in the case of feedback, it's not, because what the people around you will learn is that they can't give you any feedback. They feel like you won't receive it, even if you go back later and kind of mull through it. So it's an important thing to actually intentionally receive it well, intentionally take it from people. So something as simple as thank you for telling me that, even something like asking clarifying questions, because ultimately you do want to know what they're talking about. You do want to get clarification. Are you talking about when I do this or when I do this? Are you talking about this theory or this other thing? Just kind of asking those questions and letting the person know that they're heard. That really opens up the invitation for more feedback to come. And feedback isn't always challenging or negative. It's also important to have feedback that confirms that what you're doing is on the right track too. So suggestion number 3, this goes back to the first thing. Weigh out the feedback. So it's really important to actually sort through these things. Not everything that somebody else tells you is going to be truthful. right? Not everything that somebody else suggests for your life is going to be accurate. Because somebody may say, hey, it's not okay when you do that thing, but they are basing that on their own worldview. Their own view may be that everybody has to do it this one way, and you have an understanding that I'm a little different than that. So it's important to take these things while you receive it and you value it. You take it back and you sort through it. You weigh it out. You decide, is this for me or is this not for me? Is this truthful or is this not truthful? This is a good situation where you could have some wise counsel in your life, friends or family that actually know you really well, know the unique traits of your life that maybe don't line up with the general public, but just people in your life that can help you be a sounding board to like filter some of this stuff out with. So recap: decide that all feedback is valuable, intentionally receive feedback well and let the people know that you're receiving it well, and sort through it, weigh through whether it's actually accurate and pertinent for your life. When you do all these things, I believe that it will actually help shape and refine your beliefs and your interactions in a way that really brings you into being a more whole version of yourself with a greater sphere of influence. When you can receive feedback well and when you can actually let that shape how you interact with people, it increases your sphere of influence beyond just people that see things the way you do, and broadens it to a lot of other people that may view life totally different than you do. Even just the way that you behave when you're around different groups of people, different demographics, when you let that feedback shape that, you'll get to learn to adjust and adapt to a wider audience. So there you go. Hope that helps you out some, and try it out. See how it goes. Give me some feedback. Thanks.